What's up, everybody? I recently made this D blues scale in the Altissimo register video, and I was using my computer and this camera, and I didn't quite know how to use either one. But the quality of the computer was really bad, and I didn't like the sound, and it actually reversed the angle, so it looks like my left hand is being played with my right hand. At any rate, I'm gonna redo it before it gets too many hits. Thank you for watching it if you'd already seen it before, but if you notice that this one is gonna be a little bit different. So since I'm getting rid of that one, I'm just gonna go over some things that I went over before. So if you see me going like this, I'm not crazy, I just wrote some stuff down here, so I'm just gonna talk about some things. First thing I wanna talk about is a basic perspective and a philosophy on what Altissimo should be about. So I'm gonna do D, I'm gonna go through all 12 keys, and then I'm gonna go up and forth D, G, C, F, whatever. So the first thing I wanna talk about is this in relationship to the Sigurd-Rascher method. Sigurd-Rascher talks about three basic things in his book, which are perfect intonation, evenness of vibrato, and consistency of timbre. I'm going to take all three of those and pretty much throw it right in the garbage. Maybe not the garbage, but essentially what that means is that it doesn't mean I'm going to play with bad intonation and horrific timbre and it's going to sound horrible. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that any kind of sound, any kind of noise this thing can create, the tenor saxophone is something that we're going to use to our advantage. We're just going to use our musical intelligence in order to use it, and then we can justify for ourselves whether or not it's musically viable, if the intonation is acceptable and whatnot and what have you. Because if you're the only one playing in tune, chances are you're out of tune. Things are going to be a little bit sharp, a little bit flat. So as I go through all these lessons, I'm going to tell you what the general intonation patterns will be for certain things. And if you're playing with a trumpet player and he's up in a high register, chances are he's going to be playing sharp, just like mostly everybody else when they're playing up in that register. But it's nice to have options, and then you can choose however it is that you want to do it. So with that being said, who are these lessons for? They are not for beginners. If you are new to the tenor saxophone or new to playing saxophone, these aren't really for you. You need to kind of have a bunch of other things down first. I would say junior in college and above, or somebody that's just out in the professional field and you're playing in certain keys and you're like, oh man, I wish I had a new way around this. But even if you are a beginner or a youngster, watch these videos and don't get too upset if you can't do all these things. I've been at this for quite some time. So next, first things first, magic altissimo fingering number 1 is this front key here. You can use this front key to play a lot of altissimo. You can cheat your way through a whole lot, and even without altissimo, I'll just show you real quick. You can play a D and you can play an E flat in the lower register. Sounds like this. Here's a D. You can see the timbre is all weird. And then for E flat, so it's a nice kind of effect to use if you want to do some kind of stuff like that. So just getting back to timbre, vibrato, and pitch. If you are playing the kind of music that allows you the type of freedom to express yourself with vibrato, timbre, and pitch, then this is definitely for you. I know with traditional classical saxophone music, you're going to get yourself in a lot of trouble. Even still, it's nice to have as many options as you can. So with that being said, let's move on. Magic altissimo fingering number 1, the front key. This is very versatile. As you can see in the lower register, it's a really weird sounding D, a more in tune but really open C sharp E type of E flat. Above that, you can play your G, which is very common. I'll go through that in this case a little bit. Above that, you can play your C sharp, your D, and then above that, you can play your A flat, A, B flat, B, C. I mean, all these notes in that kind of rubber band area up there. That's the way I used to play altissimo in that range, and you couldn't really pay me to do that now after all the stuff that I've gone through and figured out. But even still, it's a nice device. It's a nice trick that you can use to kind of get out of, or to learn how to use altissimo fingerings properly. So, magic altissimo fingering number 2, I talk about this one, an extraordinary high amount, which is just like your middle F with 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and with the octave key, but your split F is with the 2 finger up. I talk about that one a whole lot. And the third one I talk about a lot is the high F sharp key. I know there are some guys out there, they're saxophone purists, so to speak, and they just wouldn't touch a horn if it had a high F sharp key on it. And honestly, I feel sorry for you, because I very rarely use that key to actually play F sharp. It just facilitates a lot of other things on the horn. There's some multiphonics that you can use it for. It's beautiful. It really is wonderful. So those are the 3 magic fingerings that I'll talk about through all these lessons. This is the first lesson, even though I'm redoing this video, because the other one, the quality was bad, and the content was good, but the video quality wasn't good enough. So I'm going to go through our altissimo. I'm going to play our D scale up to altissimo, and then I'll play it in another altissimo range. I'll tell you what the fingerings are that I use first, and then I'll play it for you. So first things first. Once we get to that palm D, in this case, I go to, this is the first thing I want to show you, which is an alternate fingering for palm F or front F. Front F being the front key and the C key together, and the palm F, as you already know, are all 3 of the palm keys and the side high E key. So this is just like G sharp, but you add the high F sharp key. So for that F, all I'm playing is G sharp, and I'm adding the high F sharp key. So going from F to G, here's another alternate fingering that I want to show you for G real quick. Instead of playing the front key for G, which a lot of people do, and it's very useful, however, it is the most problematic altissimo note on this instrument. It's so problematic, 999 out of 1,000 tenor saxophone players, unfortunately, have to scoop into it in order to get that note to sound, or to get it to sound without cracking. So I'm going to show you a really logical and simple way around that with this scale, and then when we get to G, then I go into it in a little more detail with a bunch of G's. But for now, I'm going to keep it simple and just show you the way that I use it, the alternate fingering, which is 1, just like B natural, and the high F sharp key. So since we already have both of these keys pushed down, for our F, all we got to do is just lift the 2, 3, and the G sharp key. So it's exactly like you're playing G sharp to B natural. Only difference is you have the high F sharp key being pressed down through all of that. Sounds like this. Here's your G sharp to B natural. Add the high F sharp key. Really, 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 really easy way around that. So from there, we go to our A flat, G sharp. In this case, I go into it more when I talk about the A flat scale, but in this case, for this scale, I play G sharp with 1, 2, 3, just like you're playing G, and then I add the side C. We go from there to A. I don't like this fingering for A. I find it horrifically unstable and unreliable, but in this case, it's the best choice. So we go from our G sharp, which is G with the side C, to A. We're just lifting here. The other fingering for A, I'll go into it more when we actually talk about A, but 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So it's just like D, but you got the first finger up. I call this a vented fingering. So whenever there's a fingering and the first finger's up, I would call it a vented D, or a vented G sharp if I had a G sharp with the first finger up. At any rate, I'll get into that later. So after we get from our A, then I go to C, which is exactly like the split F, 1, 2, 3, 4 with the octave key, middle F, with the 2 finger up. Now, there's a variation you can use. In this particular instance, I don't do it for the D blues scale, where you can have the 3 key up, so you just have 1, and what is traditionally known as 1 and 1 B flat, or more specifically 1 and 4. So you just have this fingering here. But split F, and then from there, that's C natural to D, which I play with the front key. And this front key, as I talked about earlier, you can play C sharp, D. I usually use it to scoop into an E flat. I'll get into that later. We get to our A blues scale, but I'll play that scale for you using those fingerings right now. So sounds like this. Once I get to this D, piece of cake. So real quick, I'll play it a different way for you so you can hear it, and then you can pretty much judge however you want to do it. So another way to play it is to use the front. So once we get to the to the D, then we go to our front F to G, using the front key just for G, and then from there we can go to our, I'll show you a different fingering for A flat, which is 2, 3, and 6. Now you can play A flat with just 2 and 3, but the intonation, it may be a bit too sharp, so you can generally add the 6 key in order to play A flat, and then there from A you can just add keys 4 and 6 in order to bring that pitch up to an A, and then from there split F in order to play C, and then from there you can go to your front key in order to play D. So it sounds like this. Once we get to that D, that's where the magic happens. We go to our front key, front F, F to G, and then 2, 3, and 6 for A flat. And then split F to play C. So piece of cake. I mean, it's real simple stuff. I never play it that way, but it can do it, and I'm going through some different things that I can show you. But from that D, I'll tell you what the fingerings are, and then from that D, you can go all the way up to your double altissimo D, and that's the top of my range. So when I do all these lessons, I'm pretty much going to play everything up in the blues scale, is up as far up to that D as I can get, or as far as the scale allows it to happen. So we have the front key in order to play D, and then we go back to our split F fingering in order to play F, which is 1, 3, and 4, and then for G I use 2 and 3. Now there's something that happens once you get above this F, this split F, this altissimo F. Once we get above that, for all the fingerings that I use, I only use my right hand to play keys that open the upper part of the horn. So I'm not really using the lower part of the horn to play anything above that F. You'll figure that out as I'm going along, but getting back to the D scale, we're on that F, we go to G. For A flat, I just use number 3. For A, I use just the C key to play A, and then for for C, I play the front key in order to play C, and then for D, I use 2 and 3, and that's at the top of my range. So that's a 4-octave D blues scale. So it sounds like this. So something like that. So there you have it. Stay tuned. I'm gonna do 12 of these, obviously, to cover all the blues scales, and I think it's more valid to just play it in a manner in which you would play it, instead of just saying, here's a fingering for this note, here's a fingering for this note. I mean, what is that? That's how you learn to play the saxophone. That's not really how you learn to play music. You know, when I first learned, my teacher showed me a blues scale, and I was like, oh man, this is it. I'm making it now. You know, I was having a lot of fun in pep band, playing Mr. Magic and these kind of songs, and First Light and Freddie Hubbard stuff. So at any rate, I hope that these are very useful to you. You can go out and use these, show your friends, and stay tuned, and I'll put together more videos. So thanks a lot. See ya.